Am I the a-hole for canceling my credit card after my boyfriend refused to return it to me? I'll preface by saying that me, 27 female, and my boyfriend, 30, have been together for 3 years and a half. I've been jumping from one job to another, while he has been unemployed due to health issues that affected his performance at work. Usually, I'm the one handling rent, bills, groceries, etc. I use my credit card to make any purchase I want. Last week, my boyfriend out of nowhere asked for my credit card. I asked why, since I'm the one who handles payments and supermarket trips. He told me he wanted to buy some food and I agreed to let him take it but told him to return it later. He got back later and when I asked about my credit card, he was like, "What credit card?" I thought he was joking, so I told him to just give it back. He said to just keep it with him. I asked why and he said so he could start handling paying for stuff on my behalf. I felt uncomfortable and said I'd rather not burden him with his stuff and asked him to hand over the credit card. He refused and said that he'll just keep it, since it doesn't have that much money anyway. I was livid. I tried to argue but he told me to just trust him and let him keep it and swore he won't spend a penny from it. Next morning, I went and canceled it and then registered a new one. He must have had tried to use it because he called and was confused asking why the credit card was not valid anymore. I told him it's because I canceled it and registered a new one. He lost it and started scolding me, saying he couldn't believe I had this level of pettiness, and kept on about how I don't trust him with my finances, and how financially abusive I have become lately. I hung up on him. The argument continued at home and he called me paranoid and unreasonable and all that. Then he started cold-shouldering me and sulking about it for days. I do feel like I hurt his feelings and showed an amount of distrust towards him. Am I the a-hole for canceling the credit card? Edit/adding in some info. Like I said, he has a physical disability that limits his opportunities for work. He receives no disability benefits because he doesn't want to. He refuses to acknowledge he has a disability and pretends that it doesn't exist at all. When I tell him to look for a job, he'd blame people for purposely refusing to employ him and say that they look down on him like he's lacking or beneath them. He comes from a humble background, no longer has contact with family due to abandonment issues but has some friends to lean on. Since someone asked, the answer is I do almost 80% of the chores while he does the other 20%. Reasons for that is his disability. Finally, I pay for rent, bills, groceries, his meds and transportation as well, so I needed a card to be constantly with me. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He swore he won't spend a penny from it, followed by the next day he must have had tried to use it. Your instincts were excellent, as was your decisive and immediate action. You know what he wanted was wrong. Trust yourself. This right here. Then has the nerve to say she's mistreating him financially. He's using her and leeching. Not the a-hole. Maybe time to cancel your boyfriend as well. I wish this forum wasn't so divorce happy because it really takes away from situation like this where the only reasonable answer is to actually break up. This would be such a deal breaker for me. To be fair, the can't work because disability but still refuses to acknowledge disability and gets benefits for it thing would have been a deal breaker for me in the first place. But taking your credit card and refusing to give it back when asked is so disrespectful I could never trust him again. If your marriage is in such a state that you have to turn here, it's almost always over anyway. Seriously, sometimes I may have issues with my partner but not to the level where I need a sanity check from strangers. The last time that happened with me, it was like, so my boyfriend blocked me in. Was it okay for me to yell at him to leave me alone? I don't want to be abusive. I was thankful that people in my life went, WTF, I didn't realize it was this bad. Sometimes people's sense of normal is broken down so bad. Also beware. Since he isn't working, that means he can get to the mail first and take the replacement card when it arrives. This, and block your credit files. He might be shadier than you think. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to defend my wife to my mom and telling my wife to get over it? We currently live with my mom and will be out as soon as possible. We had a baby and a couple setbacks, but this isn't working for anyone. In the past, I've always stood up for my wife when my mom was rude. Recently, my wife had a friend over and my mom was going on a date. He was waiting for her in the living room and I guess overheard my wife and her friend talking about how hot he was and really going on and on about it. Even as far as they want to go and smell his neck, and how was my mom even going to talk to him because they would just blank out and stare. He mentioned it to my mom while they were out, and my mom was angry the next morning. She yelled at my wife, called her creepy and jealous. My wife asked me if I was really going to let her yell. I said it is humiliating that their conflict stems from her talking about another guy like that, so why would I defend her? My mom did have an attitude, so I feel kind of bad. My wife then said my mom shouldn't have let him sleep over when we have a baby, and my mom doesn't really know him. And my mom lost it and was screaming, "Do you want to be on the streets? One more word and you are homeless." My wife turned to me crying and asked if I really wasn't going to do anything. I said I was embarrassed by what she said, and she's acting entitled when it is my mom's house. She called me a coward and ran off. She is now refusing to speak to me and telling people how I'm a mama's boy, which I think is unfair as we don't even get along anymore. But I don't see why I would stand up for her when she humiliated me with what she was saying. Not stay whole. Your wife is wrong here in every way. Your mother isn't obligated to change her social life just because you are all there. She's right. You are lucky she lets you live there. Adding 2 adults and a baby to her home can't be easy on her. Let's all call out that this all started with a wife and friend being creeps. There really isn't much to defend here. If someone is being a creep and gets called out for it, I'm not going to back them up. I'm going to call out the creepy behavior. The nature of the relationship doesn't change this. Yeah, society even gives women a pass for being creepy about attractive men, whereas it's more common to call out men who are being creepy about attractive women. It's definitely true that a man being creepy to a woman is more likely to cause bodily harm than a woman to a man, but both definitely need to be called out when they happen. I'm a woman, and imagining anyone other than an established partner, regardless of gender, talking about how hot I am and wanting to smell me? Big alarm bells. I'm surprised Opie's wife, as a woman who has presumably been creeped on by men in the past, didn't have more self-awareness. If my partner said this about someone else, my concern would be with them objectifying someone and being creepy, not about how embarrassed I am that they found someone other than me attractive. I wouldn't be backing up my partner either. So I don't agree with Opie's reasoning for not supporting their wife, but I agree with the end result. This is a major mess around and find out moment for Opie's wife. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to split rent with my boyfriend? I, female 23, have been dating my boyfriend Jake, male 23, since our freshman year of college. In our last year of undergrad, we decided to rent an apartment together. We split everything 50-50, including utilities, groceries, and rent. We continued living together in the same town as our college after graduation, but recently we both got jobs in Chicago and we are currently living downtown. My dad works in real estate, and he has multiple investment properties. My dad generously allowed me to live in one of his properties rent-free, but he said that my boyfriend would have to pay him $400 a month for rent. My dad is very protective, but he has been nothing but kind to my boyfriend. My dad's reasoning for making my boyfriend pay rent is that he wants to be sure that my boyfriend is with me for me, and not because he will have a free place to live. Keep in mind, if my dad was renting this apartment out to tenants, he would charge $2,100 a month for rent. Very ritzy building in the middle of downtown Chicago. My boyfriend is mad at me because he asked me for my half of the $400 for rent, and I explained to him that I will not be paying rent. My dad is only charging him. He says that we have been splitting rent for the past 2 years, so why would we stop now? Our rent in our college town was $1,200, so we were both paying $600 a month. Our apartment in Chicago is significantly nicer, and he is paying $200 less a month than what he was in college. Is the idea that my dad doesn't charge me for rent but charges my boyfriend so crazy? Should I suck it up and pay half because I can afford it? Edit. Jake and I still split utilities and groceries 50-50. And when we go out on date nights, we switch off who pays for it. If it pays 1 week, I'll pay the next. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Rent isn't $400. It's $2,100. Point out that if he wants to split rent, then do so by having your dad charge the full amount, which means his portion is $1,050. Pay your dad that, and dad can give it back to you or put it in an escrow to save for a future house. The $400 is a major discount for him, and dad lets you have it for free. This is exactly what I was thinking. The boyfriend thinks he is entitled to Opie's perks. He is the boyfriend, not even husband. He is not immediate family, and the dad is giving him a very good deal already. Don't expect wifey level service at girlfriend prices. Not the a-hole. A nice ritzy building, check. Located in downtown, check. Only $400 a month, double check. Near your jobs? Check. Getting the family discount from girlfriend's dad? Check. What more does your boyfriend want? Clearly he's not seeing the bigger picture. He's getting a lot of perks because of you and he only has to pay a fraction of the rent. Doesn't he realize that millions don't have that luxury in these critical times of the economy? Plus, he's failing miserably with your dad's test. Your dad's suspicions are kinda right. Maybe dad is spot on with his reasoning. Not the whole OP, but depending on how hard your boyfriend pushes, this should be a red flag. I think your dad just showed a lot of who Jake is. Explain that rent is $2,100 a month and he is expected to pay $400. You are paying $1,700, but you are receiving support from your family to do so. If he would like to split rent, he is welcome to pay $1,050. Your boyfriend is either 1. Greedy and disingenuous, or 2. Stupid. Either way is not attractive. I vote for this too. Giving him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he's really not aware how much rent costs in this area. But if he doubles down on splitting $400 rent, then I think he definitely failed Papa's test like a fool. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my child's mother I'm not interested in her problems? Our child is 3 and we have altering weeks. My mother and sisters help me with childcare when I'm working, and I know I'm very lucky for this. My ex has recently started complaining that she's having trouble with childcare. The cost has become unreasonable and our daughter is at an age now where she screams and cries when left with someone she doesn't know. And she can scream. My girl has a bright future as a tuba player because those lungs are powerful. I told my ex that my mom could watch our daughter for her, but she said she didn't want my family watching her daughter on her time. I figured that was the end of the conversation, but she brought it up again at the next swap. I asked her why she was telling me this, and she got offended. She said I should care about her struggle since it involves our daughter. I said it's not possible to sympathize with problems that have easy solutions. She wants to waste her money on babysitters our daughter hates. That's her choice. If it causes problems for her, those are her problems. If she doesn't want my help, which she doesn't, then there's no reason for us to discuss her problems, as nothing can come out of it. She said I was being an a-hole and she just wanted a sympathetic ear, that she needs to talk about her problems sometimes. I said that's what a therapist is for, or her friends or something. I'm not going to pretend to be interested in her problems. I don't like problems. I like solutions. She said that that's why our relationship ended, and I agreed that it was, and asked her why she expected me to do something for her now that we're broken up. Listen to problems without offering solutions, when I wouldn't even do that when we're together. She knows I'm only interested in solutions, not problems. Why was she expecting something else? My sister said it's important to have good communication with my child's mother and I should pretend to care even though I don't, just to keep that communication line open. She said it's only once a week, and saying, "I'm sorry, that sucks," costs me nothing, and takes less time than saying, "Your problems aren't real problems and I don't care," and start a fight. She might have a point. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I can't believe your ex is turning down free childcare. Unless your family is rude or mistreat her in some way. Some parents use an app for communication. Could be something to look into. My mom is always nice to her, and my ex really liked my mom before we broke up. For her, it's the principle of the thing. Like, my family should only see our daughter on my time. Which, fine, but then figure out your own childcare, right? Is it possible that instead of wanting a sympathetic ear to listen, she actually wanted money out of the situation? Like she thought she can get you to pay for her childcare if she complains enough. Not the a-hole. She needs to move on and stop depending on you for emotional support. Divorce means the end of the relationship between you and her, as anything more than parents. We weren't married, but I completely agree with you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not paying my niece's college tuition? 40-year-old male here. My niece, Bryn, recently started attending her second-choice college. And apparently, I'm a selfish a-hole for making it impossible for her to go to her dream school. Earlier this year, when Bryn got accepted to her dream school, the family had a little get-together to celebrate. While there, my sister, Bryn's mom, pulled me aside and asked if I would pay Bryn's tuition. The school is out of state, so it was going to be too expensive for my sister and brother-in-law, a little upwards of $50,000 per year. I said no. I'll admit that I felt terrible since we were at a gathering to celebrate her acceptance, and now she couldn't attend. But I was also blindsided because there had never been any mention before about me financing Bryn's college. My parents, sister, brother-in-law, and Bryn nagged me for months trying to change my mind, saying that Bryn is my only niece, and I should reward her for working so hard. She really is a great student, and I'm proud of her graduating on the honor roll. But I just don't think that means I need to spend $50,000 per year. I consider myself to be a pretty frugal guy, relative to what I make at least, and $50,000 is about what I spend annually for all my living expenses combined. I thought that by the time Bryn started at her current university, she would get over it and see that this school is great too. But I'm still getting the cold shoulder and snide remarks every time I go to my sister's or parents' house. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Everyone else involved is though. What kind of backward nonsense is that? You don't understand though. The family at the moment isn't allowed to say no. Wait a second. Why would there be any expectation for you to fund her education? It seems a little bizarre that out of nowhere you'd be asked to stump up $50,000 a year. I mean, if that's what happens, then definitely not the a-hole and your family's crazy. But I don't know. Something doesn't add up. Based on my experience of AITA questions, I assume that OP has no children, and therefore siblings that do see him as an ATM. OP is definitely not the a-hole here. You hit the nail on the head. Edit. Some people are asking why my sister thinks I would be able to pay for this. I make about $700,000 annually and have no children or wife. I've helped my family out of some rough spots before, $30,000 in medical debt, etc. I feel guilty because I probably got them accustomed to sudden favors when they needed it. As someone else stated, I became an ATM. But I think $50,000 every single year is different. Final edit. I will consider paying partial tuition. Earlier, I was thinking about paying for one of the 4 years. We'll see. Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to live with brother-in-law anymore? Original post. My husband, 32 male, and I have been married for 2 years. His dad and stepmom are going through an ugly divorce, so his half-brother, 17 male, has moved in with us to live for a year till he starts college. My husband loves his brother, treat him like a little kid and is overprotective of him. But I find brother-in-law's behavior obnoxious, and we are having too many arguments over this. He's been with us for only a month and a half, and I can't stand it, and I really don't think I can put up with it for a year. It started off with him making messes and throwing away leftovers. Since I do most of the cooking and cleaning, it was increasing my workload. My husband's list of chores have not increased by his presence, so he was dismissive of my complaints. Since husband wasn't saying anything, I tried telling him to pick up after himself. Brother-in-law retaliated by spanking my butt. Anytime I tell him to do something, he hits my butt hard and laughs. Husband told him to knock it off, but he keeps doing it, and husband treats it as if he's just playing around, no big deal. Not only is it very disrespectful, but it's really painful. After that, he started randomly picking me up and carrying me around. I am a little over 5 feet and 112 pounds, and he's a tall, stocky guy. I hate it, and husband just thinks he's goofing around and trying to be friends with me. I work from home, and the other day when it was just him and me in the house, he picked me up and ran with me to my bedroom and threw me on the bed. It really scared me, but he just laughed at me and left. And still husband thinks I am being dramatic by being scared by this. I feel like his behavior is escalating, but my husband tells me to act like the adult and not blow up over a kid's playfulness. I am anxious every day, and I am seriously thinking of moving out, though it'll be difficult to afford it. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I don't feel safe in our home? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. It is completely inappropriate that a 17-year-old man is spanking his sister-in-law's butt and throwing you on the bed, and totally unacceptable that your husband isn't standing up for you and finds this behavior okay. Like I would threaten to leave over this. I told him I am considering moving out, and he just called me selfish. His brother has begun sexually assaulting you. Go ahead and be selfish. This behavior is escalating, and he is trying to figure out what he can get away with. It's very worrisome. Not a-hole. Put your foot down. No, you are still nearly newlyweds, and your marriage is important. Have another sterner talk to your husband about how it's impacting you. Ultimately, it's up to you. But if my husband dismissed my feelings and concerns for someone else who isn't his child, it would raise a red flag for me. 17 years old is not a kid in regards to behavior. This teen is pushing you and laughing that your husband is on his side more than yours. It comes across as juvenile dominance behavior. This 17-year-old is likely looking for control and power, given his life is in upheaval, and has stumbled upon the easiest way by making someone smaller and comfortable. It starts as bullying. It escalates to abusive behaviors. In this case, sexual harassment of his sister-in-law. OP, you need to leave. Go stay with your parents/siblings/friends for a while. In all likelihood, your brother-in-law will escalate this behavior because he's enjoying your escalating discomfort in line with, if I'm uncomfortable and unhappy, she should be too. This likely comes from his own pain and anger at his own lack of control over his life. But your brother-in-law needs therapy, and you're not his punching bag, or worse, his pet/toy, which is how you're being treated. Your husband is blind to this behavior, and frankly, sounds like the type to blame you if your brother-in-law escalated further and violates you. Right is where this type of juvenile dominance behavior leads, when combined with sexual harassment. Your husband is not seeing that his baby brother is neither a baby nor acting like a brother to either you or your husband, and is overtly disrespecting both your marriage and human autonomy. Leave OP, and possibly reconsider this relationship without sincere apologies and couples therapy. Your husband has failed you. Now for the first update. Thank you so much for your comments and validating me. My husband had me confused and believing that I was overreacting. I am so relieved to hear from so many people that this is as dangerous and bad as I feel. I've packed a bag in my car and some important belongings and documents. I am 29 female for those who ask. I forgot to put that in my post. I called and talked to mother-in-law early in the morning. She's always been very nice to me, and at my wedding she told me she thinks of me as her daughter. My mom passed away when I was young, and I don't have any siblings, so that had moved me very much. I was nervous about talking to her because I didn't want to ruin that relationship, but she was so shocked when she heard the details. She said she'd talked to my husband and father-in-law, and this was an acceptable situation, and told me to come stay with her till it got resolved. Brother-in-law is out with his friends till tomorrow for 4th of July, so it gives me some time to have one more detailed discussion with my husband. I am also going to show him this Reddit post, and hopefully his mom's talk in these comments will be a wake-up call. Second update. I am very appreciative of everyone who commented on my last post and gave me encouragement. I won't be able to respond to all, but I appreciate it. I wasn't able to resolve this issue with my husband, and I have moved out. I am trying to come to terms with the fact that this is the end of my marriage. My mother-in-law was on my side and talked to my husband about the situation, but he got more annoyed with me because he saw this as me creating more drama between mother-in-law and father-in-law and causing old grievances to rise. I showed him the Reddit post I made and the comments, and he accused me of presenting things in a lurid manner to get people on my side. He didn't even read all the discussions, just got enraged and closed the tab. Mother-in-law also talked to father-in-law who came down on brother-in-law about his behavior. Father-in-law told brother-in-law to leave our house and move in with him. Brother-in-law refused, saying he wants to stay with my husband. My husband came up with a solution that brother-in-law was to stay in his room and I should stay in my bedroom, lock the door, and not get out till he got home from work. This angered me even more that I had packed a bag and my documents thinking of leaving anyway. Father-in-law talked to me and said that he doesn't like that we aren't getting along and brother-in-law will no longer stay with us. But the next day, brother-in-law came into the house with a group of his friends, and I simply grabbed my laptop and left. I am so grateful to the people who had suggested that I be packed and ready to go. So, I already had everything in my car and could leave with what I needed immediately. I'm staying with my mother-in-law now. She is flabbergasted by my husband, who's told her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. It is clear that my husband doesn't even like me, much less care about me at all. He hasn't spoken to me since I left. I'm trying to figure out what I should do next. I obviously can't stay with mother-in-law for long, especially since I need to start the divorce process. I could move back in with my dad, but he lives in another state, and that'll make things hard. I don't have any savings, and I'm short on money. The majority of my paycheck goes into half of the mortgage and utilities in our house, and we have a combined joint account. I've been foolishly spending a lot on decorating the house instead of saving up, and I suppose all that is gone now. I need to figure out my money situation so I can support myself. Thanks for the update. I'm glad you didn't let the situation go on any longer, and that you had the courage to get out of the marriage when you realized you had a husband problem. You're young, and you have a new and better beginning ahead of you. I like your parents-in-law. How did they raise such happy sons? Mother-in-law has been amazing, but she didn't raise brother-in-law. That's father-in-law's son from a second marriage. And father-in-law? Well, I think it's good that he told brother-in-law to leave. But he was dismissive of the issue itself, acting like it was just a bit of a spat between us. You should see a divorce attorney ASAP. They can help you straighten out the financials. You've got to get out of paying that mortgage, first of all, and be reimbursed for your share of all the money that's been put into it. She's flabbergasted by my husband, who's told her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. Dude, that's your freaking wife. What a naive, childish stance. Good riddance. Talk to your dad, friends, family, and broader social support network about how to financially prepare yourself for the divorce. There's no principled reason your husband should get to keep living in your shared property while you pay for something else. Best to split up assets and get on with the separation process. Also, allow yourself the time to grieve and be patient. Healing takes time, but you'll be far better off years from now. Yeah, that quote got me too. I mean, isn't the wife a close family member? He effectively asked her to leave. OP, you might want to look into a counselor or a therapist as you deal with separating. I recently learned about homosocial behavior, where men only consider men people and women property. Of course he chooses his brother's side because his brother is important to him, but his wife is just a possession whose opinions and feelings are irrelevant. I watched a similar thing go down recently. I was friends with a married couple. They had a guy friend move in, and the guy was absolutely horrific to the wife, to the point she was having panic attacks because of how he was speaking to her, and sucked up to the husband, like thanking the husband when the wife cooked dinner, all while the husband chose the guy's side every time, and tried to convince the wife she was crazy. They divorced within a year, and he still acted like she was property after she left, trying to get people to convince her to return to him as though she had no free will. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my parents to sleep in the same bed? I think you know where this is going, but there's no definitive answer on who's in the wrong. Also, for simplicity's sake, I'll be saying parents, but it is my mother and stepfather. My mother and stepdad have been together since I was little. So, I'm a 25-year-old woman with 2 older siblings, both male. When we were growing up, we were never allowed girlfriends or boyfriends to spend the night, which I felt was fair enough. When my brothers got to about 16, however, their girlfriends were allowed to spend nights, but they had to sleep in the spare room. Again, fair. That makes sense to me. I was always somewhat of a tomboy, so as you can imagine, teen boys didn't show much interest in me romantically, so I didn't get my first boyfriend until I was already 18. My parents wouldn't allow him to spend the night at all, despite us both being over 18. I wouldn't have minded if my brothers had been held to that standard, but I felt as if they were favored over me. It isn't even because they disliked my boyfriend at the time either. Everyone seemed to love him. That relationship didn't last more than 6-ish months, so I dropped it after a while. I got with my now fiancé when I was 22, and we've been engaged for a year. We're getting married in only a few months. Still, just like every time before, my parents wouldn't allow him to spend the nights until a few months after we got engaged, after I brought it up to them. It wasn't a conflict, but they knew I was irritated and allowed him to start using the spare room. We moved in together not long after, so it didn't really matter. Now, I may be an a-hole. My mother asked about wedding planning, the first time she even contacted me since the move, and I told her I still had a lot to sort out, but I was getting through it. And she practically insisted on coming up to me and having a week of mother-daughter bonding time where she could help me with wedding planning. My fiancé isn't a very social person and is happy to be the moneybags behind my wedding decisions. He just likes to give little opinions, and I'm sure to include them when he does. My parents arrived, and we spent the first day going out to dinner. I'd like to point out that the two aren't married and are steadfast that they won't be getting married again. Both of them divorced already. My stepdad twice. So, as the night was slowing down, they asked to be shown to their room. I directed my mother to one guest room and my stepfather to another. We have a 3-bedroom with no kids yet, so we have the space. My mother said that there was plenty of room and one for them both, and instructed my stepdad to come in with her. I explained that just like she told me, it was my house, and I didn't want them sharing a bed in my house. I basically repeated word for word what she would tell me when I'd complain about my brothers getting better treatment than me when it came to their partner. I told her that actually, they were in the same position I was in, because neither of us were married. She tried saying it was different, because they had been together for almost 20 years. I told them that it didn't matter, because this is my house, and my decision is final, just like how my mother would shut down any discussions about it back then. I was sure to mention how my brothers were allowed their partners and I wasn't, but she claimed I was making it up. They stayed the night and left for home the next day, which I preferred because I was happy wedding planning on my own, and I haven't heard from them since. My grandmother has called to tell me off for it though, so I'm wondering if I am in the wrong? Am I the a-hole? Added because a lot of people are confused. At my mother's house, we were not allowed to ever sleep in the same bed, ever. Only months after we got engaged did my mother allow him to sleep in a spare room. Also, I said I don't mind the rules they have, as their home, but it was the double standard for me. I had to wait until 25 to have my fiancé stay in my house, when my brothers could have whoever they wanted from 16. We were engaged by the time they let him. I was no longer a child, and it's not like I've been holding on to resentment for years after it stopped, as some misguided people claim. It was just months ago that it ended. Also, my intention was never to make them sleep the whole week separately. It was initially a, now the power is in my hands, do you see the error of your ways? If they did, we could have moved on and laughed about it, and they would have slept in the same bed. Because they didn't and doubled down and started getting aggressive with me, claiming I was making things up, I stuck to it. I know I'm being a-holy, but am I the a-hole in the situation I'm in? Now for the comments. Not a-hole. They aren't even engaged. They're just boyfriend-girlfriend. Maybe if they get married, you can revisit this issue. You're the a-hole, but with a huge twist here. I absolutely love it. I think you already know that you're an a-hole on this one, you sly doggy. I hope your marriage is an awesome one. This might be the best AITA I've read in the short time I've been here. This would be a good one for r/malicious compliance too. I don't think I'd call you an a-hole. After all, you're treating them in exactly the way they treated you, and what's good for the goose and all that. Bottom line is that, as you say, your house, your rules. And if you choose to make them abide by the same rules you had to, even if it's petty, that's your choice. This is another. Parents being stupid. I can do whatever I want. Parents on deathbed. Why don't my children want to visit me? OP is petty AF, and I'm here for it. Definitely not a-hole. Are you petty AF? Yes, in the best way possible. Are you the a-hole? Nope. As far as I'm concerned, you're only going based off of the lessons you were taught as a child, and the rules of your home should be respected, as you were expected to when you stayed there. They should be proud that you're using the things they taught you, lol. Grandma's an a-hole though. Yes, the pettiness was glorious, and she deserves a medal. I too wish that I had a chance to tell my parents it's my house, my rules. Stick to your guns for every visit thereafter. Your mother is simply reaping the consequences of her own actions. And again, it's glorious that you waited so long to introduce them to her.